Bring me everyone.
What do you mean, everyone?
Welcome to Everyone Racers, a show designed for the world of low-dollar racing and oddball car culture. It doesn't matter what kind of limit champ or lucky track dog league you run, SCCA or NASA, we don't discriminate. As long as you drive it hard and built it yourself. Join us each week for tech discussions, tips and tricks, as well as news and notes from the world of amateur endurance racing. And whether it's on the spot, hella sweet, or we're lucky enough, and Chrissy gives us just the tip, we're sure you'll giggle a little and learn even less. Everyone report to the paddock.
This is Chris.
This is Chrissy.
And I'm Tim.
I'm mental.
And we are Everyone Racers. Welcome to a boss episode of our podcast. It's episode 351. Sure, we could have called it Windsor, as in Ford's 351 cubic inch engine, or Cleveland, as in the other Ford 351 cubic inch engine, because why Ford did that and made them completely different, nobody knows, and it was dumb and confusing people everywhere since. Or even modified, as in the 351 modified, which is a 400 block with a bell housing bolt pattern of a 385 series. Now we're getting deep. But no, we mean the Boss 351 Mustang, a single-year option in 1971 that included the aforementioned Cleveland power plant, making 330 horsepower, 370 pound-feet of torque. Now, if you're not rolling in your Torino-sized limited production fastback Mustang, we're not surprised because they only made 1,806.
Wow,
Yep.
you had so many options for 351. Wasn't it? It was an episode or ago
All
that
Ford.
we literally had no options. Like we were scraping
Yeah,
the bottom.
349. Yeah. We were
Yeah,
looking
yeah.
for
That one
352 we
352.
got nothing against.
No. It's another Ford engine, but yeah, we also don't like to repeat ourselves. So if you've got a suggestion that's not an airplane for 352, let us know.
Sounds good.
As long as we have something to talk about, because the last couple of numbers have been real stretches.
I mean, we can always come up with something.
And there's always like the option of the date on this day, and we've done some obscurity with that one.
Because we had nothing else to talk about.
Yes, Sir Edward the Orange defeated the Brits at the Battle of Limerick.
Oh, okay.
Yep, that's usually what it is. Good.
Is that real?
Wow.
there was an Edward the Orange, and yeah, he was Irish, and he fought. Yeah.
Okay.
If you go to Limerick
Great.
Castle, you'll see the whole history of it. I'm sure I screwed it all up. But yeah.
Okay. I just thought that was stuff that you pulled out of your ass, and I was kind of impressed. But okay, if it's half
On
real.
Everyone
that's cool.
History Channel.
Yes.
Okay. What you working
So,
on?
What are we working on? Who?
Chris, you did car work. Talk
Me?
about it.
Oh, I did do car work. Yeah. Saturday worked on the car. It was very hot because it's that time of year, but we've got the Civic basically race ready. It's one tire away from being race ready. That was the easier one. We knew it would be. So that involved new brake pads in the front, and past Chris was really fantastic, and that he left me a brand new set of ST43s that I didn't know I had sitting in a box in the car. So that made life easy. And I also I took the axle we had apart completely and rebooted it, cleaned all the old grease out, put all new grease in, put it all back in, cleaned everything up. And yeah, Civic is ready to go. So
Reboot.
that's good. Yep, got fresh tires on the Cadillac because there was an instant savings and a mail-in rebate from Pirelli. So some new Pirelli Scorpions are on the 22-inch wheels on the Caddy now, and I've also fitted up a full-size spare. I kept the best of the old tires, which happened to be on the worst-looking wheel. Instead, I got a refurbished wheel from a junkyard, put the new tire on that one, put that on the car. So I now have actually a full-size spare instead of the crappy donut. Because when you're towing, the last thing you want to do is have a donut on the tire on the truck.
Not to mention, a vehicle that size, the dynamics of it. In the donut, you're supposed to be doing 55 miles an hour, and you're only supposed to go 50 miles. But that would be absolutely terrifying in that truck to have. I know it's a tall donut, but it's got to be like really
It wasn't
thin.
totally a donut. It was actually like a truck size. It was a 265 75 17, but it was a temporary use tire, like with very little tread. So again, not messing around when telling full size spare, which is great. I'd also learned that this generation of Escalade, Suburban Tahoe, etc., the tire pressure sensors are specific to each individual position on the car.
Ooh, that's annoying as hell.
It is super annoying. And so, yes, what you can't do is rotate your tires or move one out of position and put a new one, even though it has a sensor, without relearning to the car where the locations are of every tire. And that is not possible to do without a special tool. So coming from Amazon tomorrow for $8 is the Chinese knockoff of the GM special tool that I can tell my truck where the tires are so that it actually doesn't give me the tire pressure sensor anymore. So stupid. And I just came back today from a whirlwind trip to Pittsburgh. And so sorry to Al and Randy and those who were there that I did not say hello to anybody while there, but I literally left after work, drove 4 hours to Pittsburgh, slept there, woke up, went to a junkyard that I had already made a deal with. And as they opened, picked up 2 new engines for the Mazda. It's part of the MZR Duratec engine family. We're going to go into a deep dive on the Mazda eventually about how all these pits work together. But this place had 2 engines from 2018 Ford Escapes. And that engine as a long block will actually bolt right into the Mazda. And these engines had 7 miles on them. Both of them had 7 miles. The VINs are sequential, so these 2 came off the production line, and something happened on the way to the dealer, I think, because they never got any more miles on them. And looking at these motors in person, they have 7 miles on them. They're brand new.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we only needed 1, but if I'm already driving out there and they have more than 1, I'm going to buy 2 so that we have a spare. Because when else am I going to be able to buy a brand new 2.5 liter L series for $675? So yeah, so done. Now we have
so you're dumb not to. Yeah.
Right. So that's done. Just got back today. Haven't even unloaded them out of the truck yet, but I will tell you that 2 of these engines do fit behind the third row of the Escalade, which I put the third row up as a safety measure because, if I have to brake hard, that seat
And
is
they
designed to
launch
hold child
towards
seats
your
and stuff.
head.
Or,
Right, I'd really prefer
God
that didn't
forbid,
happen.
you actually strike something. And
Right.
all of those airbags go off, and you're like,
Die.
I'm totally safe. Engine,
Right.
2,
That's why I put the
actually.
third row up.
Oh,
It's like, well, that's one more bit of thing in the way if anything the worst were to happen. So there's a quick safety tip. Put the third row up if you can.
Absolutely.
Is there
Slow those
is there
engines
a
down a
VIN
little.
Wiki? Is there a VIN wiki way to figure out where those motors actually came from?
I
From
have
the block codes?
I have the VIN numbers for both of the Ford Escapes, and I have Googled both the VIN numbers, and the only thing I get is the junkyard I bought them selling parts off of them. That's it. Sometimes
Not
you get like an
car
auction.
carrier upside down.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you get an auction result that shows you like what the cars look like, and that would give you a really good idea. But this one, nothing. So yeah, who knows?
Yay, poor car was struck from the rear. That's the engine I want.
And it's not like there's going to be any press about some base model Ford Escapes getting demolished in transit because literally no one cares.
Unless
So-
it closed a highway and those people are affected by said closed highway, but they're not going to say these great Ford Escapes are the ones that are flipped over.
Right.
Gosh darn.
Basically, yeah. If it's not a high-end luxury, a truckload of high-end luxury cars or Teslas, no one cares what kind of
No
car
one
got
cares.
destroyed. They just care. Freeway shutdown.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Whatever.
Fair.
I've got cheap, brand new motors that now I have to figure out where the spare one's going to go. That's all.
On a stand under your back porch, in a tarp,
Yeah,
and a trash
it's hard
bag.
to haul that
piece
thing
of
around.
Animals in
With
there.
a piece of glass over top of it, and you can have a cocktail table.
Because you
Oh,
got
I've got
rid of
the
your
Alfa
last
Romeo.
cocktail table engine.
No, I don't. I
true.
have it downstairs. I have the Alfa Romeo V6 aluminum block downstairs.
Why are we have it still downstairs?
Because we don't need another coffee table. I just have this engine now. So
No, we do have two actually, so I guess we don't. And I have nephews that fall over, so I think the mother would be down.
You get it into your basement, but then like the time you need it, it'll be at like New Jersey, and someone will have to drive like the hour and a half back to your house and then figure out how to get that out of the basement.
Then I'm gonna call my my neighbor, which is my brother-in-law, who lifts a lot of heavy things with brute force, and just tell him that he needs to bring it up the stairs. So that's fine. We'll just do that.
yeah.
All right, so we've got a plan. I'm feeling better.
Yeah.
Okay, this is great. This is great.
All right, let's see what everybody else is doing.
Who else has doing anything?
Tim, what did you buy?
So Amazon Prime. I love Amazon Prime. I had a DeWalt hammer drill that gave up the ghost, and I've been waiting for 2 weeks to replace it. So I bought a new DeWalt hammer drill. I bought because it was $100, I bought a DeWalt drill 2-battery charger combo with another impact driver. So that was awesome. So took advantage of that. And then I have been in heavy material mode at my brother-in-law's place. He is getting it ready to sell. It's on a very steep slope on the side of Sabatis Lake. And one of the things that I did was I made 18 landscape stairs down from the driveway down to the lake out of landscaping block and 50-pound bags of gravel and all the other things. And now we are bringing 6x6s down, and we are going to change some of the piers out underneath the house and get it squared up and ready for sale. So it's been
That's
a
a
lot.
lot of work.
It's been a lot. I figured it was about 4,000 pounds that I carry down in materials for his stairs.
No problem there.
Yeah, it felt great.
How'd you feel the next day, though? That's I'm great and I'm strong. And then the next morning, I can't bring coffee cup to face. I hurt.
It's the hands. It's like carrying those 20-pound stones, one in each hand, and my hands are just like death afterwards. So it's good to be 50.
Yep.
Beats the alternative. Yeah. All right.
Menzel, what have you been working on?
Yeah. What are you doing?
If you remember when we had Jeff back on the show and he talked about Nellis auctions and his new addiction.
Oh no! Yes.
So, yeah, I got beef with Jeff because I'm scrolling through there and there's this really nice looking new bathroom mirror, and it is LED lighted around there. It's nice, it's modern looking, and it has a defrost feature, so you take the hot shower and then you got it, you don't have to like wipe the mirror down and everything. And for reasons I don't completely understand, it also has Bluetooth. So now I have a bathroom mirror that will play my iPhone, which if you said that sentence to me 20 years ago, one day your bathroom mirror will play your phone, I would have understood every word that you would have said, had no idea what you're talking about, but that's the world we live in. It needed to be wired into a source. So what I had to do is I laid out, I traced the template of it, and I knew where I was going to hang it, and it had to be wired into an existing power source, and I didn't want it hooked into the lights because I wanted to be able to just have it used as a night light, so it needed to go into a permanent power. And while I was doing that, I had to take the over vanity light off. And while I did that, you know what? This thing's dated. It's like 80s chrome.
Project Creep is happening.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to Home Depot and I got 2 new bathroom lights that matched each other, and they were LEDs, so they're better and everything. And I am wiring up both of these lights in my bathroom, and the one that is over my shower because my house was built in 1970, apparently 70% of my electricity runs through that junction box because there were 5 positive wires twisted in with one of the little household things. And as I unscrewed them to remove that light, I lost lights in my bedroom, lights in my hallway, all of my garage power, but I still had the outlets in my bedroom. And every time, because of their positive power sources, you get near them, they pop and zap and bzz, bzz.
Yeah,
And
you
I
should be turning them off when you're playing with wiring.
Right. Oh, and this is this
Step
is
one,
with the switch off.
disconnect negative battery terminal.
This is with the switch off. These are the
Or
positive
just
power
move
sources
quickly.
that are going through the whole house.
Yeah.
So of course I popped the breaker like 3 times trying to get this all done. And the last time I've gotten it all done, I've
Leave
got
it
it all
off.
laid out.
That's
I know where I'm gonna wire it all in. And as I'm reaching in there, and you're holding the
That
light
was
with
like
your shoulder
falling over.
and you're twisting on there, I hear this faint, boo. Whole house goes dark.
Oh.
I'm walking through the house, car saying, I'm like, when we get the addition put on the house, we're having the whole house rewired because whoever did it was smoking dope and da da da. And Vicky goes, babe, the power's out in the whole neighborhood. and for a second, listener, I thought what you were thinking. How did I manage to blow the circuit for the entire neighborhood? But we'd had a series of thunderstorms, and one of them, at the exact moment I am twisting wires, electricity got hit by a thunderbolt, so we had no power.
Are you sure that you didn't make the power go out in the whod neighborhood?
Well, that was
of
the
the
perfect time to
neighborhood.
finish the wiring is when all the power's out.
Which is exactly what I did. I went and I grabbed my rechargeable headlamp that we got from our Christmas guide last year, and I got it all wired exactly the way I want. And then Vicky and I, because it was still hot as hell, Vicky and I went and sat down in an air-conditioned restaurant, and she goes, when the power comes back on, there's nothing we need to be worried about new hooked up at the house.
Is it going to be on fire when we get home?
I don't
I
know.
think
Yeah.
so.
I don't think so.
I can picture God. I picture God sitting up in heaven, looking down at Mental and shaking his head and being like, "Hey, can you just turn off the whole neighborhood for this guy, please?"
It would absolutely not be the first time that God has said, "You were too stupid to die." So I wired in a couple of new light fixtures in my bathroom, and that's just strange occurrence of timing. With all the heat and everything that's going on, we have lost the battle. If you don't, for those who have a pool, you usually drain it every year. We don't, because there's no requirement to. And the average life cycle of water in a pool is about 3.5 years. And the water in our pool is 4 years old. And you can chemical it up all you want, but there comes a point of diminishing returns, and they have the ability to analyze that. And we have finally gotten to the point where our water is beyond its usefulness, and it started to turn yellow. And so Vicky went and had it analyzed. They're like,
how does it go bad? I mean, it's still, what is the problem? That you
just
can no longer use it as a pool. I don't know.
Yeah, just all the chemicals and the saturation on there and everything. And with the heat this year, just starting a month earlier, we were already fighting a losing battle with some algae on the walls of it. So, and then as it started to go through, we started getting the new stuff that shows up in the winter. So, and this is the 3rd time we've had to do it. So we're draining the water out of the pool. Got it. And so then we'll
How do you do that?
That's all.
How do you?
I have a submersible small.
Is it just going in the yard or the street?
Yeah. It's I can't do it in the street because I don't have if I run a hose straight to a storm drain, perfectly acceptable, but I can't let it run down the street. And I don't have a mile of hose. So we just.
But you live in the desert, so fortunately the water will have somewhere to go rapidly.
Okay, good.
So Vicky has an alarm on her phone, and she just moves the drain point every 4 hours.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and so next week
we'd have a hard time with that here. We would have a bog, and that would be awful. So
it really it's not an issue. But we found out the drain thing, the first time we drained the whole pool. So so we're doing that. We'll scrub it and power wash it this weekend, and then refill it next week.
Okay.
So electricity and water, 2 great things that go great together.
Okay,
It's exciting.
so I have a cool tip for us. We talked about putting this as just a tip, but I have a better just the tip this week. So I cleaned up axle grease. That was Chris's charge. One of the things that we need to do. Both axles, or I think both axles lost boots, right? 'Cause you had to-
Two boots on one axle.
So they went bad. There was axle grease everywhere. So I have a great. Chris was washing his hands one day with some waterless hand scrubbers, and let's see if I'm gonna do this. I don't know if I'm allowed. I am trying to share. If you can throw that share up there, maybe this is new. So Chris decided
where
to
is
use
the
this.
share?
I don't know. I'm
Share screen is right below.
I already shared and it
Yeah.
says it's sharing. So sharing, view sharing this. It's telling me I'm sharing it. So I don't
okay,
know
hold
where.
on. Here it is. Okay, I can do
Okay,
this.
okay. Sorry, we're bad at this. Is
no, it's
how
a new
sausage is
thing.
made. So Chris was washing his hands with these scrubs, hand cleaner towels, cloths, and he's like, "Well, let me just put this on. Let me just wash some of this axle grease off," and it came off like it was nothing. It was so easy to wash this car. So I am giving you mad props. You should totally sponsor us. These things were amazing to clean off crap in your car. So we had a little tiny hand pack of them. And, but I found this tub and it might be worth the $20. It is listed on Amazon. It is not part of Prime Day. It is very, very well rated. They were amazing. Get them because that was amazing.
Totally.
Yeah.
I was scrubbed. We pressure washed it. It smeared it. We had simple green and paper towels. Wasn't really working. But these things, just like magic.
It wiped
right
off like you would your countertop with some water and a paper towel. It just wiped right off.
We will absolutely have a link to that in our show notes because Chrissy's going to copy and paste it right next to her.
Sounds good. So additionally, I also made a homemade slip inside because it was very hot here. So I totally put some tarps out and with some tent stakes in them and a sprinkler that was a lobster.
See, that's perfect to drain your pool onto.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's yellow water, but I guess you wouldn't know if it's on a brown tarp. So I only got mildly cut up, which was fine, but I had a great time. And then, and I also was washing all of the wheels. So we had multiple sets of wheels, some of which were covered in grease, that axle grease. So I washed all the wheels. So
I feel like that would have been like a new level of eating chips. Like Chris is out there repacking axles and you just every couple of minutes, whee, go sliding by on a.
I mean, I did wait for the slip inside till after we were done. Very hot. Decided to go have fun in the slip inside. It was everything I dreamed of. Ghetto and trailer and it's fine. I had a great time. Still have cuts on my legs, but it's okay. All good. Okay, let's move on. News and notes time.
Thank you for that tip, Chrissy. My scrubs are going to be here on Friday.
Oh, there we go. I was wondering why is Tim staring down right now on this? Okay. Let me see if I can make this work. Chances are I can't. Now, over at Haggerty, our buddy, occasional lemons judge, previous guest, Jeeve, has finally put words to a topic you have talked about with your buddies, and it is, did Facebook kill the car forum? Now, of course, because Sajeev wrote it, it's a well-researched history about car groups built in the old BBS software, and it's interlaced with his personal experience. And I would venture anyone who was online before Facebook could probably figure out where in his timeline you started interacting on the car websites on this one. Now, if you have never known an internet that did not have Twatsta Snapface, Sajeev explains how the forums was the primary means to bond, get answers, or an enthusiast take on just any sort of an off-topic discussion. And then came Facebook groups. In 2017, PhotoBucket's free service ended, and all those detailed how-to threads suddenly became broken links. Now, initially, Facebook groups didn't even have a search function, but they had a mobile-friendly layout, so everyone was using their CrackBerry and their iPhone 1s on this one. Now, Facebook does give you a wider feed, but you do lose those special relationships and the level of expertise that you can still find online in these, like the Samba, Grassroots Motorsports, the Ham, VW Vortex. Do you have a favorite message board that you still haunt? drop us a link and we'll talk about it next week on the show. I actually went and sought out some of my favorite old ones. The Colorado Sport Bike Forums. It's a zombie, but it's still there. But my big one, OK Speed, it died and then became a Reddit and then died again. And the only place you'll find that one is, on the Internet Archives. But there are still some good internet forums out there. And as easy as Facebook is, you are losing a level of nuance and specific ability to repair weird stuff. I really wish there was a special F-250 forum where I could find out the problem with this stupid emissions thing that keeps popping up on check engine light for me. But
it's worth what you paid for it.
Right?
That's true. Can't complain. Yeah.
You can complain.
I've gotta
it's
give.
not going to help you.
Fair. I've got to give the Solstice Forum a plug. Those guys are active still, which is surprising for a car that was only made for 6 years.
And an orphaned brand. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's more of out of a necessity. There's no other way to get any information anywhere. So, but there's a handful of guys that are on there all the time, really knowledgeable, like build it, tear it all the way down, build it all the way back up. So they've been really good.
And if you guys remember some time ago when I mentioned my acquisition of the Formula Vs, Chris turned me on to a thread on the Grassroots Motorsports, and the curse of Formula Vs. And everywhere I've gone, I have that entire forum. I went through that entire thread. It was over the course of a year and a half where him and his son built one. But that's one of the things they talk about is there is a ton of knowledge about Formula Vs out there. None of it online. You just have to know a guy. And they'll happily tell you all this stuff, but none of them want to get online. But I do remember having to dig up some obscure wiring about old E30s and things like that. And you couldn't find any of that. And there, at the time, actually, there was none of these big social media sites. So you had to go and find these weird specific forums to get that kind of in-depth level of knowledge.
Yep.
Sounds like you're the guy, Mental. You're the new Formula V expert.
Oh.
No. Oh, God.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, I'm going to be lucky if I can get this car to not finish dead last. I'm going to have a great time doing it in that project. I can't even think about getting to it till next year, but yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yep. Let's talk about Jags.
Always.
The mere mention of Jaguar invokes a sense of elegance, luxury, speed, and lack of reliability. But the original Equalizer drove a proper British Racing Green XJ6 sedan. Roger Moore's version of the Saint had an XJS. McQueen Street drove a 2-seat XKSS Roadster. And everyone knows the sight of a proper long hood XKE. Now, of course, the same evocations of electrical problems and fluid leaks come along there, but now they're making massive changes in their lineup. The decade-old XE sedan, as well as its same-age XF sedan and the gorgeous but 11-year-old F-Type, will retire after the end of this model year. That means that Jaguar will make only one internal combustion engine vehicle, the F-Pace SUV, because the E-Pace and I-Pace crossovers are also gone. Now, while Thomas Hundai at the Autopian has the whole story, Jaguar CEO Adrian Mardell stated those 5 models had close to zero profitability. And next year, the brand will launch a new electric models and eventually be an all-electric brand. They're promised to be properly prestigious vehicles, but I don't think they're ever truly going to be Jags. Not in the same way.
No.
Oh, well.
Oh, well. Well, just a short while back, we reported that the car dealership software company CDK had worked through the cyber attack and shut their servers. As it turned out, they just paid the ransom. Lawrence Hodge at Jalopnik has a story. CDK handles financial transactions for over 15,000 car dealers in the United States. Cyber attacks lasted 2 weeks, crippled dealers, affected vehicle sales, and forced managers back to the Stone Age with pen and paper. According to sources who spoke to CNN, the software giant paid a ransom of $25 million to end the attack. CNN describes describes the payment, which was made in Bitcoin in order to operate outside the banking system. The 387 Bitcoin, then equivalent of roughly 25 million, was sent to a crypto account controlled by the organization called Black Sue. They are known hackers affiliated with the type of ransomware. CNN cites Chris Jazinski, head of global investigation at the crypto tracking firm TRM Labs, as the source. Thankfully, since they were paid, this will mostly certainly end future attacks. Sure. No.
Yep.
Right.
Right.
Well, do you remember when Ford introduced the F-150 Lightning, an all-electric pickup truck? Remember when they were threatening the dealers against markups on the high-demand vehicle? Remember when they made a group of dealers upgrade all of their infrastructure in order to launch a premium electric-only division of Ford? It's all right if you don't. But these were all stories we followed over the course of the last few years. Well, those days are long gone. In fact, Nico Demattia at The Drive tells us you can now lease a new, albeit a 2023 model, Ford F-150 Lightning for the same price as a new Ford Maverick. While the Maverick is in high demand, while the Maverick's in high demand, the F-150 Lightning is no slouch. With no money down, you can get a Lightning XLT standard range for $452 a month for 36 months. That gets you the dual motor with all-wheel drive powertrain, making about 452 horsepower. America. You also get a 360-degree camera system, 18-inch wheels, and a leather steering wheel. It's a bit of a numbers game, but the detail are in our show notes, so check it out.
I actually went and looked that up, and you could even get the platinum if you put $5,000 down for like $350 a month. Yeah, that's crazy.
It's nothing compared to your.
If you're not going very far, it's pretty good.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
I mean, who needs that when you have a free truck that only gives you a little bit of emissions problems? So that's fine.
So as long as I keep my investitures in this truck under
our payment for our car payment.
Uh-huh.
See what the trade-in value on that thing is for a new Lightning, Mental.
I have the truck for you. Fitty. Follow me. Okay, so normally we would have a racing junk pick here, but this time it's actually a racing junk. Over at the Citrus Racer Lounge, our buddy Justin has a 2006 Chevy Cobalt two-door manual. The customer drove it in, says it was smoking on startup. His techs found an oil and water in the cylinders and recommended a new motor. Then the customer ghosted. Price $300. Pagel says the cage design has the cage design stored, and it is just up the street and willing to cage it, just not for free. Car is in Fairfield, California, and it's offer for Lemons people only. Ooh. Link in our show notes and pictures on the screen.
And I'll sell you a 2.4 liter Ecotech Jeep that I've got sitting in my backyard.
Ooh,
boom!
Also,
look at that.
Not too far away, right?
Problem. So the whole point. He actually got a hold of us on a couple of our social medias, and he was like, "This is just for everyone who's like, there's no $500 cars." There it is. It's right there. There's your sub $500 car, and you don't even need a deal. That thing's going right to Class C. Absolutely all day, every day.
Yeah, that's definitely has like my first car written all over it. Like,
yes,
yeah.
But it is a two-door manual, GM vehicle. Good on him. So
totally. All right, Chrissy.
What? God, Karen Graces! I was like, with you. I was like, what? What? I don't have anything to say. I'm going to Graces!
Who cares?
Hey, Lucky Dogs at Portland International for their Salute to the Dogs. They have 61 cars. 14 of those are BMWs. That's okay. 10 Miatas, 5 Hondas, 1 Porsche, 2 Fieros, a Nissan Micra, an 87 Scirocco, and the Model T GT. It's great to see that out there still. That's wonderful.
Oh, welcome back, Model T GT.
Yeah.
Fish sold it to somebody, and I hadn't seen it in years, so glad to see it back.
Yeah. Went to Texas, I think. I don't know. Who knows where it's at now?
I think it does live either NorCal, one of the Pacific Northwest. But yeah, I've heard fabled stories of the spotting of the massive Model D GT. So pretty cool.
Cool. Yep.
Recent results time!
Lemons. They were at Autobahn doing time in Joliet, and we've got those results.
The winner on laps, Class A, the Tatas, by 1 lap. The 1984 Chevy Cadillac Cadmero, blah, 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 Illinois. Good for those guys. Those guys were rad. The winner of Class B, the Thunderbolt Grease Slapper Racings in their 84 Chevy Corvette from Franklin, Indiana.
Wow. That's brave.
Corvette.
Yeah.
Corvette magazine.
Corvette magazine.
The Class C winners forking around, won by 4 laps in their 1991 Dodge Stealth. Hella terrible. Good job getting that around, boys. Organizer's choice went to Bad Decisions Racing. They turned 264 laps.
Last week we went around and we all
wrong.
tried to figure out how long it was going to go, but we all 4 of us were missing a critical piece of information, and that car was under Bad Decisions Racing. Because I think knowing that Michael K was bringing that car, we all would have upped our lap count on that one, because he did get a hold of us, and that's later in listener feedback.
That would have been worth at least a 20% addition to your lap guess for sure.
Yeah. and not
Knowing
just
the
Michael
owner.
K, but the owner, because he does, you would look at him and be like, this guy is a little, but he's always prepared. And the whole team understands the mission, which is just turn laps.
Yep.
Yep.
And the judge's choice went to Haulin' Ass Performance in their 2004 Mazda RX-8 from Spring Hill, Tennessee.
I wish we had the stories. It's fun when we know why these people got this, but we don't. Sorry. Heroic Fix went to the Lame Goat, which is what they were in a 2001 BMW 330i. That's boring. I Got Screwed went to Lake George Racing Team in a Lancer.
There's your story. They brought, there's only, 2 Lancers that have ever run lemons. One is the Bandmade car.
And of course they got screwed because it's a Lancer. Duh.
Right. What is this?
It's the HFTB Cup. It is it's a cut down beer keg trophy that gets handed to a team, and that team has to pick the recipients of the next team.
Got it. Handy and Handsome won that in a BMW 320i from Minneapolis. And the Neon Trophy Nonsense went to Budget Bug-Eye in a Subaru Neon.
Yep. Hella sweet. Dumpster Fire Motorsports, a Subaru Impreza Outback. Halloween Meets Gasoline went to the Shitshank Redemption in a PT Cruiser. I'm sure that went very well. And IOE, Wally's Aged Cheddarheads in a 79 Triumph TR7. Bringing a doorstop is a great way to get you on the short list for IOE. Well done.
Especially if it's a cheese-shaped, car on that one. And real quick, on his Facebook, Jeremy Monin posted that the potluck raised over $400 for the follow-on mission. And I just wanted to give a shout out to them because it's one of those using motorsports to help our first responders, all that kind of stuff. I'm a big fan of that kind of the adrenaline therapy on this one. So good job to everyone that rocked up and helped out at the potluck. You guys all rock.
As always.
Killer.
Now, throwing out also Champ Car. They were at Nelson's Ledges. Now, Saturday and Sunday, C-Class, which is their top class, was the Saline Mustard Boxster. It was 1 minute and 16 seconds over Bavarian Mustache Works on Saturday, but then Sunday they were 4 laps ahead. B was Cargo Racing. They were in a Miata. They won by 4 laps on Saturday, 22 72 laps on Sunday, and Class A was fours racing. Now, Saturday, they were 114 laps over the second in-class car, and the next day they were the only car racing in that class. Good on them. So, well done.
That race is almost everyone gets a trophy. Really, they had like 22 cars. So,
Totally.
yeah. All right.
It's still
Oh, I have to say this. Listen to feedback time. Why? Why can't one of you say it? Why do I always have to say it?
not nearly as
Part of the
entertaining.
shtick is when you do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Listener, it is listener feedback time.
Great.
It's even better.
Excellent.
Yep.
Well, on the YouTubes, regarding Chris's loss of a vent attachment in the NSX, Tyler said, I have a 3D printer and I've been looking for an excuse to buy a scanner. But Chris, have you tried cursing at it? Like really cursing at it to the point of making up whole new curse words cursing at it?
In my head, yes, because I've spent probably 5 hours looking for that stupid thing and taking the car apart to the point where I just left the car apart right now so it can think about what it's done. And eventually I'll put it back together. Yeah. Anyway, so talking about the Joliet race, we mentioned the first ever Chevy Malibu Max, and we also guesses on laps. We were all wrong because it was Mike K's. He got 264 laps, but before those predictions, he said the Max is going to do a lot of laps, limited mostly by the fact it'll be 45-minute stints with mostly newbies driving it. It is bone stock except safety gear and has a paltry 272,000 miles on it. What could possibly go wrong? It will be over 200 laps. And he was
Wow.
right. He
That's
wins
pretty awesome.
By every set of rules, Price is Right or not, he wins.
Yep.
Well done,
Well
Michael
done.
K.
He exceeded
Well
his own
done,
prediction
Michael
by
K.
25%. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Who knew?
So the
our-
rule is if you're a newbie and you want to dip your toe into lemons, reach out to Bad Decisions Racing. He will coach you up right.
Totally.
Our Pittsburgh ambassador, Al Jones, says, I have no idea how many laps the Max will do, but if they don't do a TJ Maxx theme and fill it with factory second-hand Tommy Hilfiger sweatshirts, then they're really missing a golden opportunity. That is amazing. Thank you.
So good. Al. Yes.
You just go to like Ross, you spend $7 and that's your bribe is everyone gets, oddly sized name brand, last year's fashions.
And a wallet and a corkscrew. Right. and a
throw pillow and something that goes on your kitchen table that nobody really wants, and like a bonsai tree and some old soap.
Yep.
Decorative soap. You can't use that soap. It's just there
and it's
to
kind
look
of
good.
right. It's kind of chunky and it's kind of like not good. Yes, you tell me that I haven't been in a Ross or TJ Maxx. Also, we had some in-person feedback that my dad was annoyed at our sound levels, so he was like, that everybody turn it down when I talked, which is nothing new, and then couldn't hear Chris, I think is what happened. So hopefully it's getting better, Dad. And Mom.
Hopefully.
Hi, Mom. Hopefully.
Yes. I say, whose sound levels are always even?
Okay.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but okay.
No, I don't know if I go that far either, but that's
Who
okay.
never wears oddly sized Tommy Hilfiger factory rejects?
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
I mean, she might have frequented her fair share of Ross and TJ Maxx. We definitely rolled through there
Oh, yeah.
like all of my life.
Well,
So,
yeah. You had 3 kids you had to clothe. I mean, yeah.
yeah. And I went to private school, so I needed a whole lot of cheap blazers because you roll through those. So, Anyway, yes. Hi, Mom. They will listen.
Hi,
because
Chrissy's
they're doing
mom.
back and forth to the shore all the time. So they're getting their shows in.
Yep.
Okay, guess what time it is? It's big topic time!
So Tim came up with this topic and it was a great idea. And I thought, we'll put it out there. So We are talking about the most epic win or fail repairs, yours and ours. Now, not all the heroes in the world wear capes, but all of our heroes wear a lot of grease under their fingernails. So we asked for your stories, and you guys all gave us enough to fill like 3 episodes, including 1 episode that we can have with just Chris Overzet alone. That could be a 2-parter. Those are some great stories in there. So thank you all for sharing all this stuff. If we do not get to your story, just know that we loved you sharing it. And if you didn't, or if you saw all this stuff, head over to our Facebooks, the Citrus Racer Lounge, the unofficial page of the 24 Hours of Lemons, and the Rally page, and check out some of the responses we got on there. It was awesome. And we are blessed to have a group of listeners that are very, very hardy people who do not give up easily.
It's going to be hard to pick some. I mean, there's like 50 stories here.
Oh, yes. It was it was a 7-page Word document that I was editing at work, collecting all of these stories. And yeah, there's a lot of beer cans. There's a suspicious amount of beer cans being used in every level of repair. And I would also bet of any racing series, we have the most concrete ever used in any trackside repair.
Concrete. Oh, yeah.
Anything that people do, you use the resources available to you. I mean, that's why houses in New Mexico are made of mud, but ones in Massachusetts are made of wood, right? You know, so what do you have available in a lemons paddock? Cans. There's definitely cans. So, yeah.
We've used a can before. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Totally use cans.
Exhaust.
I once tried to get Tom Lamino to use a can as a spacer for his crank pulley that was off just slightly. And he's like, no, I don't think it'll work. I'm going to go buy an expensive one. I'm like, this totally would work.
Totally would work.
This is gonna work. And we've got these cans right here. Come on.
Yeah, come on.
But Bruce used them.
And if you have you not
need to
figured out, Tom, that every time you buy something expensive, it is definitely never going to work.
Correct.
Yeah, but Bruce
Especially
used
for
it
Tom.
spacing his diff. Like he needed some different spacers in the differential to make it work. Just like, well, I cut up this can and I put it in there, and they definitely used the end of a Chikalove Ultra can as a grease cap over their wheel bearing, which might explain the wheel bearing failures they have.
So
but who knows?
And yes, and this
Maybe
is
not. No.
Years they've used that.
No.
Well, I think the
probably.
wheel bearing failure was explained by the 7 races in a row where they would go, we should do something about that wheel bearing. Yeah. And then they'd unload it untouched to the next race. But the going into that, using beer cans and then, having this resource available, one of the more interesting beer can stories. So Nate Schlavine, now he put in here, quote, definitely blowing an alternator fuse that was not available locally. And my farmer teammate burning the liner off of a beer can and stacking shims until it quit blowing. And he did on the Facebook, he added a picture of what a 200 amp beer can shim looks like.
Oh my.
I mean, you just
Okay.
it works.
Okay.
It's not a dumb idea if it works. That's the key.
Yes.
All right, so I guess let's go through some of ours, and then we'll go through all the wonderful ones we got thrown in here. Or if when we're telling one, if someone else sees one that's talk about, great, let's do it. All right, I've got a good and a bad that came to me on this.
Why don't we just
For the
go?
win.
We just want to go with just goods and just bads, or
We can sure whatever you want.
Okay.
Sounds great, honey. All right, go good. We were out in California. I think we were at Chuckwalla. Pretty sure it was Chuckwalla. We were racing with Spank. And we were running several different cars, but among them was the Mini Moke. And back when the Moke was good, the Moke was a lot of fun. It was a center driving position, and it had a warmed over 1275 in it. And it was just a riot to drive. Well, someone was out driving it because Spank likes to have all kinds of people drive these cars. And it had a temperature gauge, and a temperature gauge has 3 pieces of Sharpie written on the outside. One of them is slow, one of them stop, one of them it was slow, pit, and tow. And they didn't really look at that, and so that motor didn't do so well. So comes in, and Spank and I think one other guy all just jumped on this car, and Spank's the only one that had ever worked on a Mini before, so he's working on it while shouting instructions to us about other things. But we had that car from pulling into the pits to pulling back out on track, 45 minutes, swap the entire powertrain, because he already had one in the trailer. He just rolled it out, and we made it work. And that was a even hotter motor. That was even more fun after we put that one in. So that was great.
That's pretty legit.
45
So
minutes,
I found-
can't even like change the wheels and brakes in 45 minutes, let alone the whole powertrain. But a Mini is a whole lot simpler than the Mazda.
And he also breathed minis. So like owned like stacks and stacks of them and knows exactly with his eyes closed, turned around, could tell you exactly what to pull. So that helped a lot as well. And there's just not a whole lot to it. I mean, it's fairly small. Yeah. As our favorite teammate Dave Carpenter said, as a win, our Friday night all-nighter engine swap with Neil Rett helping take the green flag and finish 4th overall at NJMP into 2019. That was fun.
And God knows we have played some all-night engine swaps on that one.
There are so many engines or some kind of swaps all over the place. Oh, there's a cat, a race-winning cat. I'm trying to be on this podcast. There's so many swap. No. What you can't see right now, the technical support cat has showed up and is now attacking Chris's microphone and microphone stand, and now it has become a toy.
Amazing.
So yes.
I just hear your cat saying, "Have you tried turning it off and turning it back on again?"
Because I don't know that she's that smart. So
Yeah,
there's
the
that.
You talked, the I was on this team, but I wasn't a part of this. But I do remember at Mid-Ohio in an AR race, from exiting pit to back on track, doing a brake pad swap in less than 3 minutes. And both of them, it was the same deal. Like anytime we've had to do this, they had 2 jack stands set up, 2 jacks, car pulled in, raised the car up, hit it with guns. The people with the brake pads had welding gloves on. They pulled off the old brake pads, threw the new brake pads on there, bolted the wheels back up, dropped the car, torqued the wheels, sent it, which is eerily similar to what Tim and I did at Thunderhill a few months back for the party or table for one racing, which, Jimmy No Wrenchy and that entire crew on there. Because they'd gotten a flat tire while they were threatening for an overall.
Yeah, in the last minutes of the race, and everything came off just on fire.
Yes.
Ugh.
I'll throw this out there for the fails because to the surprise of no one who has met me or listens to the show ever, got a lot of fails. But I think I've told you guys most of them. What the ones you may not have heard was Jerry Ringo back in the day. He had that Thunderbird. And it was one of the Mark Martin liveries. It was red and white. We were at Barber, and it had started to smoke from just underneath the car, worse and worse throughout the day. And finally, we get black flag towards the checker for smoke and fluids on Saturday. The hole under the car is covered in oil, and for the life of us, we cannot locate the source. We're all up underneath the car and everything. And after a few hours, what we found was a hairline fracture right along the bottom edge of the oil pan. So we pull the engine. We spend the next few hours getting the engine pulled, get the oil pan pulled off, find somebody who can TIG weld it. I believe Brian Pollock TIG welded that up for us. Got it all back together, drop it in there, and we managed to take the green flag on Sunday. And before the end of the 2-hour session before Jesus Hour, it is doing the exact same thing. New crack right on top of where they had just welded it. So we ended up having to throw in the towel on that one. And what happened was a post-race inspection. The engine mounts had worn out, and that was allowing the entire engine to slam forward into the front subframe, and the custom oil pan cut to go around the steering rack was slamming into the steering rack and causing a hairline fracture.
The cat's like,
your
screw
cat
this
is done
show.
with your story.
Yeah. Cat doesn't want me to talk anymore.
Yeah.
Well,
well.
I've got a win and a fail in the same story.
Oh, okay.
This and it kind of ties into the the what can you do with beer cans thing we were talking about earlier. So
What can't
Pantless
they
Matt
do?
and I have our 240 SX Ernie, and we
It's already going to
we
be a
took it
great
out for
story.
we took it out for test day at Sonoma, and it was kind of a cold and windy weekend. And we get halfway through test day, and car's down on power, comes in, and we surmise that we floated a valve. So we're standing around with the hood up, dejected, and the team right across the paddock from us comes over and hands Matt and I 2 beers, and he says, if you're going to stand there staring at the motor, you might as well have a beer in your hand.
Oh, that's so nice.
And good advice, really.
Great advice. Great advice. I take that to heart. So we're standing there trying to figure out what are we going to do, and we go on and we're digging around, and there isn't a head to be found within 200 miles, and it's cold and windy, and we're like, do we really want to do a head swap right now at 8:00 at night in the wind? And we're like, I don't know what we're gonna do. And the guy says, well, why don't you just pull the plug and pull the injector and run it on 3 cylinders? And we're like, you could do that? And he goes, well, I've done it in my V6, which is now we've only got 5, but I mean 3 should work. So Matt and I are like, I don't know, it seems like a bad idea. So we go back to my house, which is about 40 minutes away from the racetrack, and we proceed to get into a heavy battle with a bottle of brown liquor and stay up till like 3:00 in the morning, and
Who won?
show up, and Jason Ross
no.
is running with us, and we tell him the sad story of what happened on Friday, and we're like, we don't know what to do, and we say, well, the guys across the paddock said we should just run it on 3 cylinders, and he was like, all right, let's just do that. So we pulled the injector, pulled the plug. It ran all weekend on 3 cylinders and made the most horrific noise going down the straightaway. Sounded like a dying goat going down the straightaway. And we took checkers. I mean, that was the only problem we had. The whole weekend was on Friday. So that was the win. The fail was that one piston promptly exploded like in the 15th lap of the next race that we had pulled the injectors.
I'm not really surprised. Should we be surprised?
Neither were we.
No.
So, win and a fail.
My buddies were putting a Honda, a B16 back together, Team OK Speed and the Tape R, and the last head bolt snaps. And they back it back out, and it's about this much of the thread had grabbed. And they were literally getting ready to roll it onto the trailer and take it up to Hallett. Yep, heck with it. JB weld the crap out of it, stuff it in there, put the bolt back in there, and tighten it up. And it runs all day Saturday. And then Sunday, about an hour, they start losing compression in that cylinder. And they did exactly that. They literally just pull it in there. Someone with thick gloves yanks the spark plug, yanks the injector, and they send it back out. And people are asking if they had a lawnmower in their car.
Oh, no. You're like, whatever makes that sound? You're like, oh, just.
Oh, the sounds are horrible. They're horrible.
All right,
And
that's the one.
it's always depressing when you're like, oh, that thing's getting ready to blow. And then 3 hours later, you keep hearing that awful noise down this. Yeah.
The one win that I was thinking of was a great pit stop that we came in, and I may have this wrong. We were at Thompson. Chris, I believe, was in the car. We were in the Civic, and I believe it was one of the races we were trying to win. A class, one of the classes, probably A, because we had a couple runs for that. And I believe you had a wire to the wheel, to the tire. And
Yeah, a piece of safety
Yeah.
wire was sticking out of the tire when we eventually found out what it was. That was it, just a piece of safety wire. But it was getting worse enough, and it was late in the day.
Right.
I
so
remember
it was one of those.
Go, Chrissy. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. It was just one of those high pressure, trying to win, do what we can, don't have time to pit. And it was like an F1 pit stop. Like we were ready with it. We were like squatting. He pulls in. Somebody, like we had a jack guy. We had a person that took the wheel off, took the wheel on, pulls out. I mean, I don't even know how it happened. It was just one of those. I think we probably got second, maybe even third for that race. But because we went for a bunch of races that we were really trying hard, and it just came down to a last couple laps. So it probably didn't help us that much. But it was one of those awesome, like, we came together, we made it happen, and it went really well kind of pit stops. So
because I was driving like one of the Garage Heroes cars, and Chris had already whipped past me like 4 times that race, and then I pass him, and he is literally driving like this, limping that flat tire around. I'm like, oh, and I'm on a different radio, and I couldn't find out what happened, and then all of a sudden there he is again passing me. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yep. All right, I've got to fail then. We brought the boat and the Civic down to CMP one race, and this time, Metzel, you were there, and
Yes.
Matt came there too. We were racing there, and it was great. And so we were trying to win C at that point, and the boat was doing well. The boat had been reliable. Everyone was great. Everyone loves the boat. We just had a great time at the parade the night before. Like, what a great time the boat was. Like, wonderful. Jeff goes out in the morning, and he's running, and I don't remember if he said it or not, but that nothing was showing on the gauge, and he's like, "This stupid gauge," and he didn't like it, right? So, and then
we had hold on. We had a really good paddock spot. We could see turn 1 really well because we were right on the corner, and I'm almost positive it went around, and we're like, "That's a lot of smoke." We're like, maybe
it'd been a while though, and he was in like second overall,
burning
or
off
second in class,
something.
yeah.
It's fine. It's just we overfilled the oil. That's always Chris's answer. That's fine. We overfilled the oil. No, I'm pretty sure that smoke was something different.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
It got worse and worse, and then it was smoking more, and eventually Jeff came in. And the thing had no coolant in it at all. It had been running for who knows how long with no coolant in it.
In the summer, in South Carolina.
Yeah. I've never smelled oil that smelled like that. It was amazing. But the motor didn't like lock up or anything. It kept running with no coolant at all. So props to Rotella T6 for holding up to who knows what degree that was. We put in better gauges after this race. We were still using the stock like crappy 94 S10 gauge panel at this point.
No wonder it didn't work.
Right. So we started taking it apart, trying to figure out what's wrong. We thought it was all right. It's the heads. We got the heads off, and it took so long. Like everything just wasn't working. We'd never worked on that motor before because we didn't need to. It was a pain. Everything about it was bad. We pulled the heads off, and we're looking, and as soon as we get the heads off, it was there was a chunk out of the piston. The valves had gotten so hot they'd actually like sucked up into the head, like they'd become like concave because they'd melted pulling up into the head. It was terrible. Yeah,
I'm going to call that a win though, because that was the first race I ever did with Pantless Matt, like him on a team. So I got a new buddy.
Excellent.
He will say this is a fail because he wanted to race the boat so bad. And this is the race that he will say to forever and ever that he was so excited to race the boat. And anytime he see a picture, whatever it is, he just says, I miss it. I wanted to drive it. So this was one of those like down in history fails for him because he came to join this track, join us racing. And all he got to drive was Civic. And he's, I don't like front-wheel drive.
And the Civic blew a head gasket too.
Yeah. And I remember because everybody was working on the boat, you asked me to swap the tires in the Civic, which I did.
Oh, yes.
In the dark and put
in the dark.
4 flat spotted corded tires on the Civic, which the next morning you're like, dude, I told you to swap I did. Not those tires.
You swapped them around. You just didn't look the fact that they were corded when you put them on the front.
That's when we learned to like look at them before you actually put them on a car.
And the two most Matt things about that one was when the boat came in, we're all like, all right. And we start, gearing up to work on the engine. Matt gets up, goes into, I think, the RV and comes out wearing a Speedo because that's just how you work on a car.
Also, this is one of my favorite Matt stories. Goes down in history. He has a little tent that's all the way close to the track, right next to the fence, and he unzips the tent and goes, "Zip! I got a hangover." Whoa. It is my favorite Matt story. No, second favorite Matt story. The first favorite Matt story is my wedding video. But the second one, and I continue to joke about that one. So that one goes down in history. Yes, Tim.
I'm going to pile on to the everyone for Redis right now. So I've got a good Matt story. So, gauges, like, why do you have them if you're not going to pay attention to them? So that is a common problem with Sorry for Party Racing. And my favorite one is Matt just got done rebuilding a 350 small block for the Failbird. He tows it from LA to Sonoma. He and Dean running around like crazy people in the paddock, getting ready for the race as they do, are wound up to level 47, and they go out, and Matt comes back in after like 15 minutes, and he's like, oil pressure is just bouncing, the gauge is bouncing, and he's like, I what is going on? And they pull the dipstick out, and there's no oil in the motor, and Matt's like, where'd all the motor oil go? And Dean's like, well, how much did you put in? He goes, how much did I put in? How much did you put in? They drove a fresh motor around with like 2 quarts of oil in it.
Both of them, aerospace engineers.
It didn't last long. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Very smart
and on
people.
that, Chris Sweeney just threw us a very quick story of his fail, and it was, we had to drop the transmission 3 times in 24 hours for different problem each time. Did 1 hour of racing.
There are so many stories like this. It's very sad.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's blown a motor, and then when talk about fail, that's what you're going to get here. There's a lot of those.
I have a good one from Yuri, because no surprise. We tried to patch. Can you do a good Yuri voice? We tried to patch the engine block with concrete when a rod flew out. Okay, it takes a while for the concrete to cure, so that was a fail. I would say so.
Yep.
That's. Yes, I would have been surprised if that was success, but use what you have, I suppose.
Good for them. I like this one that Dave Morrow sent us. He said 2009 Nelson's Ledges. I rebuilt a small black Chevy 350 on a piece of plywood in the mud. It gets better. And used aluminum foil under a worn out rod bearing and a cutoff wheel to shave down the rod cap for proper clearance. Being a true 24-hour race, we gave everyone a 12-hour head start, but had the Snoopy van on track for the remaining 12 hours. I also put twin turbos on the same engine without opening back up for the next race at Gingerman. Terrible times. And I remember that. That's the race we picked up the Wartburg. And I felt so bad for these guys. Rebuilding this Chevy van engine, which taking engine out of a van sucks. There's no good
and
way
that
to
was,
get
I
the engine out
remember
of a
that
van.
full-size Chevy van. They'd have to like cut the back of it to get under the weight limit or something.
Right. So, and I remember them rebuilding it, like it really like on the ground. And that was like the muddiest weekend ever. People had built like cardboard shanty towns. It was such a Nelson Ledges kind of thing. And I just felt so bad for these guys doing that van. So it's even better when aluminum foil to shove the rod bearing a little closer. Like, great job.
No
Dave.
fail.
That's
There's no
amazing.
fail.
Well, and apparently that one, and that's what I do love about, a lot of these stories is we had this great fix and the odds of it working were slim, and it worked. So we added more power and didn't do anything else. And it blew up. What the hell?
Weird.
Yep.
Chris Elax got one that I think is really funny. He personally he used a dog leash cable, like a cable tie down, with a 10 millimeter socket, and created a clutch cable out of that at the race, which is pretty good. But he saw
I think
a
he took
team
that
once.
from us. That was actually that was my fail.
Was it?
Well, yeah. So our fail was the
It's a hydraulic
boat.
clutch, not a cable, but yes.
Sure. No. I know. No, but it's along those lines. So our fail was that Summit Point, which if you ever heard of Summit Point races, they used to be crazy. So, and they also had a Jesus morning. So they didn't start till like after like probably 12 o'clock. 1
And it was
o'clock,
always
something like
Hyper Nopey Hyperfest or whatever.
something
Yeah.
like that. Yep. At the other track, some of the craziest stories. Not sure how people didn't die at these races. Kind of shenanigans. So of course we participate in said shenanigans. The boat was doing well, winning class by a couple laps. I want to say for Saturday,
Yeah,
trying really hard.
it
Right.
was.
I think we were ahead for a little bit. And we had a fix to do, but we're like, let's party. Like, we'll just do it in the morning. We've got all morning to do. Go ahead. Yeah, please. You can tell the story.
The end of the day Saturday, I'll just tell this part of it. The end of the day Saturday, we had no clutch. We went through much of the day Saturday, no clutch at all, or like we could pump it up enough to like start after a pit stop, and that was it. And so we're driving around no clutch, and we're amazingly we're finding our lap times leaving just in fourth. They're only like 2 seconds slower. Like, well, this isn't that bad. Yeah, and we end up leading C, feeling great. And we need to do a slave cylinder. All right, well, great. We'll do it in the morning. Jeff's like, oh yeah, I'll be up early. I'll do it in the morning. We'll get it all done. Typical Jeff. And so we're like, great. And so we shenanigan it up that night. Yeah.
Go ahead. You can keep going. You make sure you probably remember the details better than I.
Yeah, so the next morning we go to try it. All right, Jeff got the new slave cylinder in, all is well, everything's fine. Put Lumino in to get in the car. He steps on the clutch the first time
in his suit, like ready to go out on track.
Yeah, we're in good shape. We got the new slave cylinder. Everything's wonderful. Steps on it, and it all of a sudden goes clink and goes to the floor, like 20 minutes from the green. We broke one of those stupid bits of GM plastic on the clutch linkage. Because when the slave cylinder went in for the last time, after we'd had it in and out a few times to bleed it by pushing it through, went in for the last time, the rod on the slave didn't get quite on the right spot on the fork. And so it couldn't press on anything. So when Tom stepped on the clutch pedal, it couldn't go anywhere. So it broke the stupid piece in the linkage. So we're trying to fix it. Eventually, the way we fixed it, after several other things, the way we fixed it was cutting off the closed end of a box end wrench and a deep socket and welded those together and stuck the socket over the rod, put the box wrench over the piece that sticks out the side of the pedal, zip tied that in place, sent it. Worked great.
The picture
But
is deep in our
lost,
Facebook.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We lost Class C because we didn't make sure it was working with enough time. Oh well.
And this is also one of our very much learned from our mistakes. We do not let ourselves party before we work. We work on cars, we get them done, then we go party. We've learned that the hard way because we thought we had it in the bag. We thought we had a good plan rather, and then we're unable to succeed with that. So I'm gig blasting. Sorry.
Yeah, Tyler Smith actually threw something in there. He said the greatest success is to remember to fix everything before the race and not having an issue, to which, Kevin immediately said, where's the fun in that? Well, you get to race that way. Yeah. So.
Yep. True. There's another. Chris Blizzard gave us one. Again, clutch issue.
Oh, I like
said
this one.
trackside repair failure success. To take the car out at Sonoma first. Clutch is slipping. Damn it. That clutch is basically brand new. So get it back to the garage. Take out the motor and transmission. Put them on the floor. Separate them. Clutch looks brand new. Pressure plate is fine. Holds a huge amount of torque when they try and make it spin. Turns out it was the external clutch slave cylinder. Easily accessible from outside with the transmission still in the car. Yep. They were trying out a new guest driver that race. Needless to say, he never came back.
I feel like it's not fair to base your race experience on one bad transmission.
Yeah.
And honestly, you were coming to a Lemons race. What were you expecting? Yeah, you're not getting the 24-hour Rolex 24 Daytona thing.
What? Why not?
Why not?
Now, there was another good pro Kevin, and we've not talked to Kevin, but we've talked to people on there, Rafi and some other folks that race in Colorado, and he runs that 50 Dodge pickup, and he drives it to the track and tows a trailer with all this stuff, and then races it and drives home because he doesn't live too far from there. So he drove to the race, and as he rolls up to sign in, the flywheel falls off the truck.
As one does, right?
As one does. Now, they did end up getting it on the track, but by the end of the race, he had to call AAA to come get it because he was having some other issues.
Yeah.
When the flywheel passes you, that's really bad.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to summarize one that Greg said. He used to run the Alfa Milano on the East Coast. Everyone enjoyed being passed by just to hear it, which is great,
yes.
right? Essentially, he was even there for this race. He had a family thing, so he had his team do it. This is 2013. It said their excessively light flywheel came apart at turn one. Pieces of it tore off the back of the motor where the bell housing and starter attached, and the shrapnel punched through the trans tunnel. He gets a call. He's overseas, and he's like, "Oh, just go home. You're not going to do anything." But his team said, "Hell no." They set somebody out for a flywheel. They pulled the motor. They got a Miller spool gun and loaded it with aluminum MIG wire. And then Lorena on his team grabbed her welding helmet and built up the back of the engine block with deposited weld to reconstruct the missing parts of the back of the engine block.
No.
Then
Just
they
like,
just a lot. Yeah, like a mile of wire. Just keep going. Yep. And just, take a break and do it again. Take a break, do it again.
Wow.
I feel like I should link the 1 hour of Chrissy imitating MIG welding right,
That one?
Yeah.
Yes.
So then they filed the surface flat to couple up
Holy
the bell housing,
what?
re-drilled the missing bolts, used a tap to rethread those holes, car made it back out on track on Saturday. And yeah, they got a heroic fix for that one. I say they ran the same engine for 2 more years after this.
What?
So,
I feel like her welding repair was probably better than the factory casting.
Could have been.
probably, yeah.
Could have been.
Totes.
Yeah.
There needs to be like a top 5 all-time heroic fix list that Lemons needs to put out. Like that would be
A great
amazing.
Lemons world.
That
Yeah.
it'd be so hard to pick. How do you even pick? Like, how many years? 10, 12 years, 13 years, and how many races? That'd be so many.
You just throw a poll out. Tell us your best stories, and then
Well,
Nick
and
and
sometimes-
Eric go number 5.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
Many of them are just like engine swap, go out, do another engine swap. So there's like, I'm sure there's stories like this of like building up and building with random things you shouldn't put in them. So, I think there's probably a good percentage you could just knock off by people doing, engine trans in the dead of winter and they're miserable and things like that.
In the mud.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. While it's snowing, I feel like
Anytime
that's-
it rode Atlanta. 'Cause
Yeah,
it's always
yeah.
bad there,
I was thinking
right?
of Pitt 3 years ago.
In the snow.
Whatever it was, in
Yeah.
the snow. Yeah, that's the year I was thinking of. All right, I got a good one. So Ben says, nothing major with repairs, but we did have to build a fuel pump sump out of a lighter fluid bottle in a 1992 Subaru Impreza, so we could go around corners with less than half a tank. We also had to vacuum all the rest out of the tank on Saturday night and went through 3 fuel filters. We know all about that. Still took the checker on Sunday and started to build a boring, reliable BMW when they got home. We know all about fuel.
I know how
fuel
to
filters.
solve this problem. We'll just get a BMW.
Get a better car.
And then Corey right now just started crying.
Yes.
There's another good heroic fix one that Rich Chesovich put this up for us. This wasn't his team, but he just watched this team. It was at Reno. There's a super team park next to it, and they developed a really bad rod knock right at the start of the race. None of the parts stores had any bearings. So someone went to a junkyard an hour away that had a Supra back when junkyards had Supras. So they didn't have a hoist, and they couldn't get the pan off without a hoist, so they punched a hole in the oil pan and pulled the bearings out, some like used rod bearings out of this 200,000 mile junkyard Supra. They pulled used rod bearings out through a hole in the oil pan.
The most impressive live version of the board game operation ever.
Right.
What?
Wow.
And they take these used bearings and put them in their Supra, put it back together, and it sounds worse. It throws a rod on its first lap out.
Oh.
Right? So throws a rod. So then they pull the big pieces out of the engine through the hole. They wrap a beer can and a hose clamp around the crank journal where the rod was to keep the oil pressure in there. Unplug the injector, as we talked about, and then use expanding spray foam, not concrete, to seal the hole in the block. Yes. So by this time, the sun's come back up, and it's a true 24. So sun's come back up. There's 15 minutes left of the race. They send the car out to take the checkered, and they're watching the cheering this thing along, and it blows up in a big way, like a half lap after going out again. So,
I mean, I can't. I feel like you're standing around saying, is anybody saying like, yeah, I think this is going to work. We had this thing of like when the Citroen was better, we were like, it's better. Yeah, no, I think it's better. And we called Citroen better because it wasn't actually better, but we just were like
1% better every time.
Positive thinking
1%.
people. So we were like, oh, it's better. Oh, it's not better. So when you do all of these things, you're just like, yeah, expanding foam in a motor, it's got to be better, right?
Well, you're also dehydrated, delirious,
exhausted.
Sad.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Do we have anything else? Because I do want to wrap it up with this quote from Mal, who lives in Australia.
Now go for it.
All right.
Yeah, I know.
We could go forever, but
we could.
Yes, we could.
These are some great stories, and we're actually
fantastic.
saving the ones we didn't tell about on here. So thank you again. But Mal Nichols. And this is why you do things like expanding foam and pull rod journals out of holes in engines and use concrete. So in Australia, they have the equivalent series called Beers, which is like the most Australian thing ever. Budget Extreme Endurance Racing. Our team changed head gaskets on a Ford 302 in a 24-hour race. Did both of them in 4 hours. They've changed a gearbox on an Alpha 156 during another 24-hour different team he was with. They've changed 3 brake calipers on an 03 Mitsubishi Lancer in 12 hours, which is his normal car that he drives. But what he wraps it all up with and why you do this and you just try is it is an absolutely unmatched, quote, unreal feeling for the team when you cross the line after such a big repair during the race. And there is satisfaction that you could search in any other environment, and you'd be hard to match how good it feels to know that really dumb 1% chance repair held together. And he's even won a trophy for a head gasket repair called the Dregs Award, which sounds an awful lot like Heroic Fix.
Yep.
I feel like the one that we missed, I know we said we were finishing up, makes me think of the brake pads on the we lost Chris. He will fix.
Yeah, he's coming back. It's fine. We'll figure it
out.
out.
Okay, fine. This is the brake pads on the flywheel in the TR7.
I think it was a
clutch plate.
Clutch plate. Yes, I apologize. Yes.
Oh.
I feel like we gotta. That's one of those that it's stuck. It worked, and we don't know why it worked, but it worked. And
when Bruce was doing it, we're like, really, Bruce? Like, you're good? Okay, dude. Good for you. Give it a try. And sure enough, damn thing.
It worked all day. Right, all day Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think they did. Yeah, we did it Saturday night, and it worked all day Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very Bruce thing.
Yes.
Anyone else would work. No one else would have made it work.
No.
Yeah.
He's magic like that.
Yeah, only Bruce can
Sometimes,
pull that one off.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Oh. Okay.
All right.
Well.
All right. And if you didn't get a chance to respond, throw something in the comments. Tell us your great stories. We're gonna dig through these and come up. As we mentioned, there's a lot of show ideas on this, and these were amazing. Of all of them, only one person had this level of success, and it's our buddy Mike Berge, and he sold his rally car for profit.
What?
Right? Talk about
What?
magic. Holy crap.
I got mine for free and I still didn't sell it for profit.
It's a thing.
Right.
Oh, so
Oh,
epic
that'll
work
rip.
on that one.
That boy, Mikey.
Yeah. All right. Well, these are good ones, guys. Thank you. Thanks everyone for submitting this. It made this so much better than just the four of us telling our stupid stories, because these are even better. So thank you.
Yeah.
There's so many.
And
good
I'm sure
ones.
there's
good
so many
ones.
out there too. Of like we're reading through them, and some of them are just like get worse and worse, and sometimes they turn around, and sometimes they don't. So yeah, it's been awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Well, what's next?
I don't
Maybe
know.
it's time for
Yes!
My favorite part of this is that Tim is doing the same thing that Chris and Mental are doing, but he doesn't have an actual microphone that he's talking into. So he is just moving his head around. Mental and Chris are moving away from their mic because we have microphones, but Tim does not. So he just does around and around like everybody else does. I just thought it was funny. If you're you would only realize that if you're watching on YouTube. So I apologize for those that are listening on the podcast. Okay, on a more serious note, we have just the tip. So I have lots of thoughts. I was going to give you the topic of the week, which is emergency evacuation, which is not a big deal. But so unfortunately, this week at work, I've had a kind of a stressful week. We had an OSHA recordable injury, and that sucks for the employee. They got hurt. They smushed their finger. But it also sucks for my company that we were 5 days away from 2 years since our last major incident. So we were at 725 days since our last OSHA recordable. I am just barely getting over it. This was Monday. And of course, it was an employee, from what we know of, and most of our indications are saying that it was just him playing around with a piece of machinery that he doesn't belong playing around with, and crushed his finger. So my answer and my suggestions to everybody, it's kind of is watching where we already talked about line of fire, but it's more of so we have OSHA has a thing called lockout tagout. So right, and the idea is that you're supposed to de-energize anything before you're working on it. And the easy things that we always deal with is like if you're working on anything electrical, you unplug the battery. Things
Shut
like
your
that,
whole
right?
block down. Shut the block down. That's just the easier way. Yeah.
Just
Hey, you know what,
take it all apart. I'm sorry.
It worked. Mental shutting his entire block down before he does wiring.
Yes, correct. Yes, right. Just shut it all down and then you can work on it. But that's exactly what I'm talking about, right? It's actually what we were talking about earlier. Is that making sure that you're just going to like turn the power off before you work on something. And really what happens is if the employee was telling the truth, which I don't think he is, he basically was trying to clean out something and basically said, well, did you de-energize it? No, it was a pneumatic. It had air attached to it, and it was an air vise that came closed, and smushed his finger. So we talked about lockout tagout. Not everybody, if you're not a safety professional or you're not, kind of somebody who does maintenance or does something with work, you may not understand lockout tagout. But it's really important to just basically de-energize anything that you are working on. And then also I have this thing I feel like we need to talk about. Don't stick your finger where you wouldn't stick other things. Don't put your appendages in places that you would not put things that you care about a lot. So I feel like that's part of the thoughts that I have right now. And also just be careful because you getting hurt affects other people. That's about what I've got in my safety brain for today.
Don't
Valid.
put your finger if you wouldn't put your junk there.
That's what I was getting at, but I wasn't just whatever. Yes, that's what I was getting at.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Use
Okay.
it. Use a tool other than this.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much, because they're like useful and stuff. And then like when you don't have them, you can't do a lot of stuff, and it sucks.
Yeah, imagine trying to itch something when you don't have any fingers. Yeah, how are you going to scratch a mosquito bite? That would just be awful.
Or just do everything in life. So yes,
we do take this your stuff kind of lighthearted, but over the years I have developed a tiny Chrissy that pops up on my shoulder to go, this is about to be a really stupid thing right here. And and it's usually when I'm tired or I'm getting lazy and I'm like, I'm not going to go all the way over there to unplug this thing before I do this thing. And then little Chrissy pops up
called the breaker box. Yeah, I'm not going to touch that breaker box thing.
And right. This is about to be really stupid. And I'm like,
so
fine. I don't want to have to explain to Chrissy why I'm, walking around like this.
Right. I'm laughing really hard because a lot of people have a little Chrissy, which kind of scares me. I literally had somebody send me a message on Teams that I'm like only loosely involved with at work. And he was like, I was thinking about you this morning when I came in, there was power lines down, and he was like, Chrissy would say you shouldn't go there. And I was like, oh God, so I'm glad I'm having such an impact on people. It's very nice. And that's, you can only save yourself. So I'm glad that you're thinking about me saying to tell you to not do something, because you're the person that's going to make those choices. So, all right, enough safety talk for now. We started at number 2. It's day 2 now instead of 725 days. So there's that. Mic drop.
Sad face.
All right.
Stupid.
Well,
Dylan.
In just 7 days, we have any idea what we're going to be talking about?
Yeah.
I got ideas.
Race cars.
We'll come up with something.
Race cars is good. Yeah.
Race cars.
Race cars.
Totally talk
I
about
love
race
that
cars.
topic. Although we had so many everybody does other things in this episode, so everyone loves Matt Freitas, and we had everyone tells our sad stories. Yes.
All right. Well,
all right.
Let's see if the outro works this week. We're batting 500. Here we go.
I'm being optimistic. I'm not grabbing.
Thanks for downloading us. We hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Everyone Racers. We also hope you will join us in the world of driving, racing, building, because everyone can be a racer, even you. If you enjoyed this podcast, subscribe. It's totally free. And go to iTunes, give us a 5-star rating. Even if you hated us, give us 5 stars and tell us why. If you have any questions or show ideas, drop us a comment on our Facebook page, Everyone Racers, or email us at everyone.racers@gmail.com. You can still text pictures of your junk to me at 484-243-0455. Find us on Instagram at everyone.racers, YouTube and Facebook under Everyone Racers, and even Reddit at /E1R. Thanks again. Until next week, keep the shiny side up. Unless, like us, there is no shiny side, then just keep those wheels down.